Welcome to the Facts and Dimensions demo of MyGPT. Today, I have already connected to the Facts and Dimensions database, so I can show you how MyGPT works with their vast database. Here, you see the interface for MyGPT. It's super simple. A button to load data, a wizard box, and a button to run your query. So let's get to work to see what we can do. Let me ask a first question. I'm going to ask, is there any information available on child cancer survival rates? If so, where is it located and what fields are there? MyGPT looks at all the information in the Facts and Dimensions database. There is no computer code to learn or fancy queries. You just ask it a question and back comes your answer. You interact with your data as if you were talking to another person. This is the power of AI. It transforms how you look at data. Okay, so it has come back with a response. MyGPT has identified the table which it thinks contains the information that is most suitable to answer our question. We also get a description of the different relevant fields in that table. This allows you to locate data in large databases with ease. Now hopefully you find this pretty cool, but let's dig a little deeper. For MyGPT can do far more than simply locate data for us. I'm now going to ask, is there a correlation between the survival percentage for children with cancer and the year in which they were diagnosed? Look at this question for a second. We are asking MyGPT to do a number of different things here. Firstly, we're again asking MyGPT to locate the relevant data in the Facts and Dimensions database. This time, we are also asking it to analyze the data, not just report the data. And the system responds with a value and an interpretation of that value. In other words, cancer survival rates seem to be improving with time. The MyGPT tool is conducting the statistical analysis for us. We don't need to spend time opening tables to preview or wrangling with database queries. We simply ask plain English questions and wait for our plain English responses. But you are not limited to just seeing text responses. Let's try this question. Can you show me a line plot of how the survival percentage for children with cancer has varied over the years? Now we are asking for graphical output. Normally to create a graph, you need to go through a number of steps, but here we just ask it. As MyGPT starts analyzing the data again, you might be thinking, how do I know it is telling me the truth? One thing MyGPT does is provide complete transparency and traceability. The way the data is calculated is made completely transparent in the query ledger. By giving you this ability to see the logic MyGPT used, you can have confidence that the results are reproducible and explainable. You can see a graph has popped up, which nicely answers my question. Once you have created your basic graph, you normally need to mess around with it, converting it to the format a journal will accept or matching your institution's standards. MyGPT can help with that. Let me go ahead and ask MyGPT the same question, but this time I will add on that I would like the graph to be produced using the smarter color scheme. That should fit quite nicely with the background. Now in this case, we have trained the model to know what our corporate color scheme is. It is an example of a small tweak that really helps to automate workflows and ensure the output is consistent. And now you can see the chart has been changed. The images produced can be downloaded automatically, and we can connect the system to your dashboard or reporting software. Now creating graphs is a very useful feature, but there may be times where you want to create the graph yourself, and for that you'll need data. And for data, you'll need a SQL query. So let's try out MyGPT and see how it can help us extract data from the Facts and Dimensions database by helping us write SQL queries. I'm simply going to ask the system, can you get me some data on the E. coli cases count in England? Once again, MyGPT needs to figure out where to find the data and then construct a SQL query to get the data. It comes back with a pretty straightforward query. You can now begin to see some of the many ways you can use the system. to locate data, to analyze or visualize data, and also to help you interact with your data. Let's ask another question. This time I will ask, on what day did the HBS pharmacy dispense the highest number of items, and how many items did they dispense? Notice that MyGPT is going to have to figure out that the data it is looking for is located in a different table. It does this automatically. We just ask our questions and wait for the responses. We are going to let this run and then take a peek at the ledger to see what MyGPT did to get this result. I mentioned previously that this allows you to explain and trace what MyGPT has done. We can now move up to the ledger. The ledger is broken down into 3 sections. First, what was the question we asked? Second, what was the answer MyGPT provided? And finally, how did MyGPT come up with the answer? In this case, MyGPT constructed a SQL query to pull the information about the question that we had asked. You can go one step further and hit the Break It Down button. In this case, you can now get an explanation of the thought process MyGPT used in constructing the answer. This can help you spot errors or problems and ask MyGPT to correct them. It allows you to get a clearer picture of what the code is doing. This allows the insights into the model's brain and how results are constructed to be accessible to people with no coding experience. You can see we get a nice breakdown of what the model was thinking about when it wrote its response, the context, and also locations of data that have been used in producing the response. Furthermore, our calculation has been broken down into a series of smaller steps to make it more digestible. You can even ask MyGPT even higher level questions. What do I mean by that? Imagine some pundit is off claiming that the NHS is no good and it's falling apart, and your boss asks you to come up with some responses for when they get hauled before some committee to answer questions. Now, I know this situation would never happen in real life because there are never any loudmouth pundits on TV complaining about the NHS, but just imagine for a second that there was one. So what about this question? I want to use this database to help evaluate the quality of service provided by the NHS. Can you provide me with 3 interesting questions I could use for my analysis? Here are some possible questions you could ask to come up with some results to support the fantastic progress the NHS has been making. Based on some of the tables we have been asking questions about, you can see the system is suggesting we could, for instance, look to see if there is a correlation between the availability of beds in different wards and the number of patients admitted, or to see how the different pharmacies are distributed geographically, to identify if there are any areas with limited access. Finally, I want to do one last question that integrates more ideas yet into helping you analyze your data. I am asking the system to conduct a regression analysis. So far, we have found where data is and asked for results, but now we are asking for a proper statistical analysis of the data. I want to understand if the trend we saw before, where we noticed that it looked like cancer survival rates for children were increasing, is backed by statistical evidence. A regression analysis should help us answer that question. We're asking MyGPT to collect the relevant data, conduct the analysis, and then also provide us with easy-to-interpret results. We can see that the system has responded. We have a nice breakdown of a number of technical regression details, but notice that MyGPT has included easy-to-understand interpretations for these parameters. For instance, we can see an R-squared of 66% means that 66% of the variation in child cancer survival rates in this data can be explained by the year of diagnosis. We also see that the results are indeed statistically significant. MyGPT has helped us through the full analysis here, from providing locations for the data, our initial investigations into correlations, and the line plots we saw earlier, right through to more formal analysis. Pairing the MyGPT system with the Facts and Dimensions database allows you to make better informed business decisions. I hope this demonstration has given you some insights into the amazing things that AI is now capable of. So, what are you waiting for? Set your data free with the power of MyGPT.